I'd like to get started by really sincerely thanking everybody to be here and allowing us to come into your community. I'll be a facilitator for the community meeting this evening. My name's Bill Morse. I'm a public information officer with the Southwest Area Incident Management Team number 4. The real focus of this is on you folks, on the community that's being impacted by the San Juan fire today, currently, and coming up here for a long time to follow, long after we've come and gone. About the only real announcement of value that I want to make to you is that your community here is not being threatened by the San Juan fire. I'd like to ask of you to sign in if you'd like us to reach out to you to get emails from the San Juan fire information. There's a sign-in sheet. If you put your email on there, we'll reach to you. You can follow us on our Facebook page, on Twitter, and on InciWeb by just simply following San Juan Fire. The intent of the meeting here tonight is going to be to educate you, brief you on the fire suppression operations, the plan of what the team is doing to manage this fire for you. Hopefully, the goal is by the time we're done here, you won't have any questions left at all. But that's never happened before. But we're going to shoot for it. At the end of the whole presentation, what we've left out, we'll field questions and talk to you in everything that applies to there. We do have representatives from the U.S. Forest Service, from the Vernon Fire Board, from the White Mountain Apache Tribe, probably from the BIA, that are here. They want to talk to you on any matters that are outside of the scope of, is that working? Anything that's really outside of the scope of the suppression efforts that what we're here to do as a team on the San Juan fire. And they'll all be available to talk to you. They want to talk to you. We've got maps lining out on the back where we can sit and talk. There's stuff about some of the treatment projects. There's the infrared maps. There's different spots to answer any other questions beyond what we're here to do today, and that's talk about the San Juan fire. We're going to talk to your fire chief first, and then after that we'll talk with my chief, the incident commander for our team, and then followed up by the operations chief who's responsible for the actual hands-on firefighting going up on the San Juan. I think with that, I'll go ahead and go right up to Chief Dave Nihus of the Vernon Fire District.
Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for, Thank you all very much for showing up. Now, all of you that are standing up in the back, we do have extra chairs up here. We learned our lesson after the first meeting, and we recognized we needed more chairs because the turnout from Vernon was very good. So feel free to find one up here if you like. I want to thank everybody again for showing up. I definitely want to thank everybody for all of the support we've seen, the signs that are being placed out there, the donations that we've received. The outpouring of generosity from Vernon has been outstanding to a point where we actually had to ask people to slow down because we just couldn't handle what was coming in. So thank you very, very much. Now, I would really like for all of you to join me. Today is a very, very solemn day for us, a special day for us. It was a year ago that we lost the 19 firefighters over on Granite Mountain. But there's more to that story, and I really want to share that with you. A couple of weeks before that, we lost 2 from the U.S. Forest Service right out here in this forest, as well as the total number of wildland firefighters last year was one of the worst years we've had. We lost 34 individuals. So if you would all remove your hats and join me with a moment of silence for those folks, I'd very much appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much, folks. We very much appreciate it. Again, I want to thank you for everything that's going on, and with that, I'll turn it over to Bill again. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to introduce Matt Reedy, the incident commander of the Southwest Area Incident Management Team number 4.
Thank you, Bill. Can you hear me in the back there? You doing all right? I see head nodding. Good. Appreciate everybody coming tonight. We had a good crowd the other night, and we're looking forward to sharing some more information with you. I'm sure that a lot of you that were up a little bit later last night probably had a little anxiety from what you saw. Well, I was a little anxious too. I have to let you know that we've got some really skilled people here, and they're working really hard for you all. And I'm really, really happy to say that I'm associated with some really fine men and women in the fire service. And today was a really emotional day for us. It was very difficult. Many of us have been in this for decades, and we've seen friends of ours that are hurt or even killed. So you have to bear with some of us. We're kind of, it's with heavy hearts that we're here. With that, I will like to say that we've had some really good success last night and today and in the previous days, and that success is largely built upon what we've done as far as determining what type of strategy we're using here. And the strategy that we've employed is trying to build an area where we believe we're going to choose the best locations where we have the highest probability of success of engaging this fire without endangering the lives of the firefighters that are out there to the greatest risk possible. So that is our intent. That is my intent. That's what we're striving to do. And in light of that, what we've done is we've employed a strategy where we're using, and I talked about this the other night, and there's some maps over there against the wall, that we're utilizing those areas where over the last 10 years, they've done the pine restoration treatments. And those pine restoration treatments have allowed us to be successful in going in and being able to engage that fire where that fire has gone from an area that hasn't been thinned to where you saw last night. If many of you were up a little bit later, saw the activity that was last night. Much of that area that was on fire last night was an area that was not thinned. It was not thinned. And that's the type of response. Even at night, with the higher relative humidities and the lower wind speeds and the cooler temperatures, that's the type of response that you see in that type of condition. So we've chosen areas where we feel like we can be really successful. And the key to that is in those pine treatment areas. We're using those, we're tying into existing roads that are out there. And when we can't find roads, then what we're doing is we're building dozer lines or we're building hand lines with firefighters and hot shots. And then we have engines, lots of engines that help support those folks. So a key to our success last night was the use of a helicopter, where we went out there and very judiciously placed fire out on the ridge tops. And that's why you could see it so clearly last night. So what we did is we selected some specific ridge tops where we went in there and we placed fire out there very selectively on the top of the ridge, allowed that fire to back down the hill very slowly, easily. If you compare that to a situation where a fire would have been established in the bottom of a drainage and then had the slope to run up with the wind at its back. So that's what we wanted to avoid. And last night, I believe we achieved really good success. We had really great results. We went out this morning and we took a helicopter flight and looked at the areas that had burned down off of those ridge tops last night. And by and large, I'd say 80% of those areas, we got the results that we wanted. Now, in applying fire like that, it's not a perfect application tool. It's not something as fine as a surgeon's knife out there. You just can't get that type of precision. But what you can do is we can get really good results. And I think that the folks like Buck Wickham and Brooks Baker and Jeremy Human, those are some of the people on our team that are in operations. These folks have got decades of experience, and I feel extremely confident when they say, this is what we need to do, this is what our recommendation is, will you approve it? And I listen to that and I say, you're right. This is the right thing to do. So I'm going to have Buck come up here, and Buck will explain in a little bit more detail tactically some of the things they did and some of the successes that they had. So it's people in your community and people like Buck that come in that really make this a success. So I'm going to turn it over to Buck.
Thanks. Anyway, Buck Wickham and operations, and I feel a lot better now than I have. I appreciate the kudos, it makes me a little bit taller. Just what I need. Anyway, yeah, flip to the IR flight here. All right, it's kind of a small scale, but this is an IR flight. Remember I talked to you earlier or a couple days ago about how we measure the acreage of a flyer real accurate with an airplane flying over taking infrared imagery. And then that imagery is fed into a computer. We can get a real accurate figure on acres. But last night, it was about this time last night, what we did is we lit the tops of all this here was, the fire was right in here as of last night. And we lit, there's 3 little cinder cones right here, and we horseshoed the very rim of those cinder cones. You can even see that when this flight was at about 11:30 last night. And you can see the horseshoes that we laid with a helicopter right here. And that helicopter, it drops these little, they look exactly like ping pong balls. And they have some kind of chemical that I don't know what it's called, but we inject them with antifreeze basically. And then they fall out of the helicopter and they ignite, a couple of minutes after they've been injected. And one of the benefits of using that helicopter is we can put fire where it's very hazardous to put people. And we can also do it in a very quick manner, which if you were watching the fire last night, it went from a pretty mediocre smoke to quite a bit of smoke pretty quick. It's because we can, apply those balls out of the helicopter real rapidly. But what we wanted to do too is we had the area inside of our line right in here was about 1,700 acres. A lot of it was in that mixed conifer fuel component. We could have lit the road in our dozer line and let it run up there, and we'd be done right now, but it would have done a lot more damage to the forest. It would have been a stand replacement fire. So in applying fire with that helicopter on top of these 3 hills here, and that is the top of those hills. They're little cinder cones. And then we ran a line of fire down this ridge and then another line of fire right in here. And we only applied those balls to the very peak of that ridge. And so, we let the fire back down to us. And so, fire burns a lot less active when it's backing off a hill than it is running up a hill. And so in doing that, in this 1,700 acre, I think it actually is 1,780 acres, there's about 150 acres that was a stand replacement burn. So, we did have a little area that got real hot, but of the whole area is pretty minor. And we've been trying to be patient, letting that fire back down to our fire lines throughout the day. Now, the fire in this area here has backed down to our dozer line right in here. The 6 road goes right in here, just for, if you know where that is. And then the 2 road is up here. So basically what we're doing, we want to fire the perimeter out, and then this fire will be done, So that's why we put fire in here. It's too hazardous to put people up in there. Let it back down through the night. And I don't know if any of you got up early, but I got up about 4 o'clock, and you could see that fire was still actively burning, backing down into the lower part of the hills. And so today we got in here, and actually we have just a little bit of line left to burn. Hopefully we'll be able to complete the burnout tonight. The fire, like I said, is back down to our line right in here. There's a real small little basin right in here that is unburned. And then this fire here is back down off those steep hills to our line. And we're going to continue to burn. In fact, I think that they're starting right now to complete this burn right around here. and then this little horseshoe of unburned fuel right in here. Hopefully we can finish that up tonight. We're going to have crews that stay out, work an extra long shift tonight in order to accomplish that. And if we are successful, then this fire will be pretty much have a line around it. And after it, burns for a couple days or a day, and lets us get in there and mop up, I think that you're going to see a dramatic reduction in smoke, and the fire will have a burned out line all around it, which is a really good thing. That's how we catch fire. So, I'm projecting that in a couple days, the smoke production will be real minimalized, and we're going to start our rehab, and this fire is going to be over with, all except for, repairing the damage that we did in our line building efforts and mopping up. This is where the fire originated, San Juan Meadow here. This whole side of the fire over here, all the way over to here, is looking really, really good. You can see it, the infrared flight showed quite a signature of heat in there. We did, 2 days ago, we put 5% containment on it, but we were reluctant to increase that containment right in here because of the heat signature that IR flight showed last night. But we are looking really good around here, and mop up and rehab phases from here all the way around the heel of the fire, all the way up the west side of the fire and around to the north side. So tonight, you're going to see, here in a little bit, and like I say, they're starting now, so you're going to see a little bit more smoke tonight. It's not going to be anywhere near the amount of smoke I think that you saw last night, but what we're going to be doing tonight is actually, sticking a fork in this fire and getting it all burned out, and we'll be done with it. And I think that's about it, and I'll give it back to you. All right.
I think we're also going to see those containment numbers go up quite a bit. We're only talking 5%, and I think we all like to measure success by percentage of containment. And you understand, we don't like to announce things contained and then have any potential of having to go backwards. So we like to let it go for a couple days till it's really nice and cool. We don't gamble. We're not in the gambling business at all. So at this point, maybe it's a good time to open up for any questions in relation to the fire. Sir, right up front.
Those of us who have been evacuated, I live in Red Cabin Ranch, when can we expect to be allowed to get back to our homes?
The question is, those of us, the 3 communities that have been evacuated, when can we expect to get back in our homes? And the answer at this point goes right back to my last point of we don't gamble with your lives. When we are 100% sure, not 90-something% sure, that your lives are safe, we can get back. We're very aware of the great amount of inconvenience it is to be out of your homes. And we are striving hard. We've got 763 personnel working on this fire to get it safe and tied in as fast as possible. So probably the answer is exactly what you're going to expect me to hear, is as soon as we can possibly get you there safely.
Give me some kind of time frame.
I'll let Buck talk to you on that.
Okay, a time frame. If our burnout is successful tonight, which I really have a strong feeling that it's going to be successful, we would like to have that fire cool off for a day. So if our burnout is successful tonight, we get the line completed, we get the line burned out, let it, we have picked up a few spot fires in our burning activity. I would think a good timeline would be if we complete the burnout tonight, we let it, let us have a chance to get in there and let it burn up a little bit tomorrow. As we mop up the fire's burning itself out too. It's burning itself out of fuel. So finish it up tonight. Let us look at it tomorrow to make sure we don't have any spots that will get away from us, and probably the following day. So today is Monday, Tuesday. You're probably looking at Wednesday for those parcels north of the fire there. That answer your question?
Yes, it does.
All right.
Over here on the wall in the corner. Absolutely. The question was when we're done and we've got this fire better contained, are we going to hand it back over to the officials and the local authorities? Our first priority in firefighting is safety, firefighter and public safety. The next is fiscal responsibility. We have hundreds of people here because that's how much horsepower we need in order to handle this fire. But we've already got a demobilization plan, And as soon as we can start releasing people with the effect of being effective and saving money, we do. And then the idea is to transition right back to your local folks that live and are committed into this area. I see a hand right back here.
Two questions. One is, we heard that the fire had a spot that was 6 miles behind the Vernon dump transfer station. Is that true? That's really close to where we live.
Anybody that could, Chief, as far as a transfer station?
Anywhere near the transfer station. It's all been south of us, all been far away.
Okay. My other question is, do we know how the fire started? Because we heard that it was started by Girl Scouts at Los Burros, and I wondered if that was true or not.
We've heard a lot of rumors too, and we have no information on any of those rumors. What we do know is that there's a human cause fire investigation going on, and as we know, law enforcement officers aren't too keen on throwing out intel and stuff. There's a human cause investigation that's happening now as we speak, and nothing is announced as far as the cause of the San Juan fire. Hang on just a second.
It's definitely not the Girl Scouts.
Right here, sir.
In a worst-case scenario, if monsoon starts blowing the other way, are there established trigger points for the pre-evac and the evac of Vernon?
I'll go to our ops chief again, and the good question was, in a worst-case scenario of the wind starts blowing around, the monsoons come in with strong downdraft winds, are there trigger points for other evacuations and pre-evacuations? And I'll pass that right to Buck.
You know, we don't have a trigger point for the evacuation of Vernon, but we really feel like there's no real need for one right now. And so we haven't made those. Like I said, I think that the fire's going to be over with tonight. You know, you probably hate me tomorrow if it isn't, but we do not have trigger points. We are watching the fire, and if the fire was to make a push toward Vernon, then we would initiate that, but we do not have a trigger point established at this time.
Right here, ma'am.
Rain with thunder and lightning is in the forecast for Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How worried are you?
We do have incident meteorologists as part of the team, and a major factor in firefighting is looking at the weather, what it's doing today and what it's doing down the road, where we're going. There's changes in the forecast. The weather has been our friend. It's gotten better. It was our enemy the first couple days, wasn't it? It's gotten better. It's allowed us to get the upper hand, to push back against Mother Nature. But I think we all know Mother Nature's in charge here, and monsoons are coming in. I did get word that it's raining in Flagstaff today. We're seeing buildups over there. We all know that there's downdrafts that come. We all know that we get dry lightning around this time of year. So we're prepared. We're aware. I guess the silver lining, if there's such a thing, is that we have 700 extra firefighters in this neighborhood right now. Right back here, sir. Oh, here's.
Just one thing to add to that is that part of our responsibility is not just the San Juan fire. We have an added responsibility for an initial attack zone that surrounds the fire. So we have identified firefighters that are right here to assist the local agencies in the event that there are additional fires that start in this area. Okay?
Let me see that too, because, you know, another thing about that fire is, you know, somebody asked on the last public meeting, the IR flight showed little islands inside the fire line that were unburned and asked if we were going to ignite those. You know, when we are done, this fire is going to be completely black inside of our line. And one of the reasons we do that, so if we do get the downflows out of a thunder cell, that there isn't the fuel inside the fire to make a big enough run to escape. So, you know, that's what we want to do, is we want everything inside of our fire line to be black. There's no fuel there, and where wind won't be an issue. And, you know, I'm crossing my fingers. I'd like to see the showers get here. You know, it's about time. And this place desperately needs a drink of water.
Sir, right back here, row 3 had his hands up.
What can we as a community do to help out?
Great question. What can we as a community do to help out? We're all responsible for helping to become basically the buzzword, if you will. A correct word is FireWise. And that came up on our last meeting about how we can be FireWise. to learn to educate ourselves a little bit about how to take care of our own property, how to make our stuff less flammable, how to have defendable space and defendable property in our own properties. A, we can come to our fire stations right here. These guys can educate us on it. B, or two, I should say, we do have FireWise pamphlets right back here on the desks, and a couple from couple different agencies with some informational stuff, how to make it. And we can go on firewise.org.net, Google FireWise, how's that? And get all kinds of information, get on there. Also, give us a call on our information lines, on your pamphlets, right up on the top, and we'll be glad to talk with you and spend more time individually. And one last thing was we do have all our representatives here to be able to talk to each of you individually and talk about your home and your actions, because we're all unique and different. One more, sir.
Actually, a follow-up to that one, and I mean no disrespect when I say this, but the people who live here know that we cannot, as I once heard on the radio station the other day, can't even park in the forest because it's so tender. How can we get that information down to the other parts of our state for people to come up and visit?
Yeah.
And I mean no disrespect, but I just want to make sure that everybody really knows down in the valley and everywhere else, the people who come up and visit our wonderful area, what that cigarette can do.
Absolutely. Education is the key, isn't it? Fire prevention starts with education and responsibility with all of us. One thing I will say from the heart is I do find that one of the best tools we have going is a self-policing community. I don't think anybody in this room saw somebody flick a cigarette into the grass is going to be very passive about it, are we? No. We're doing what we can. We're all doing our best. I don't really have an answer for that. Sir?
Can you briefly describe the mopping up process, and based on what you know about this fire footprint right now, about how long will that take?
I'll answer the first half of this question and let Buck answer the second half. In mopping up, we would put a fire line all the way around the fire so that it's black, burnt right up to the perimeter, and then we're right down to mineral soil on that edge. And now we have firefighters all around the edges with hand tools and water and hoses, and it's just like Smokey the Bear says, we mix and stir farther and farther in from the line until we make that safe, fat, wet, cold zone wider and wider and wider. How long it's going to take on this 5,700 acres of rugged country with the personnel we got, I'll pass that, Buck.
All right. You know, what we're doing out there is there's several methods. You know, in order for fire to burn, it needs fuel, heat, and oxygen. And so, you know, in those fuel treatment areas, you know, the White Mountain Stewardship Project, there's a lot less fuel. And so it's easy to mop up. You know, in fact, if you left it alone for a couple of days, it would go out except for the heavier stumps, and most of the logs and all the debris has been hauled off. You know, the fuel has been removed. So, you know, that's what we do is we get out there. We've got miles of hose laid out there along our fire lines, and the crews are actually squirting water on it and stirring it up, you know, and digging down into the duff. In the Ponderosa, the pure Ponderosa forest, that's a pretty quick process, especially in those White Mountain Stewardship projects, because there's not a lot of debris left out in the forest. And in the heavier fuels, in the mixed conifer, you know, it doesn't burn as clean. There's a lot of duff, you know, or rotten wood in the soil that actually burns. A lot of it looks like dirt, but it'll actually smolder for quite a while. So, you know, we're going in those areas, and we call it boneyarding, or getting all of the limbs and logs that we can and piling them up into like little campfires and letting those burn up. And that's a lot better to let them do that, because then there's no fuel left. After that, we'll go in and we'll squirt water on the ground, stir it up, and can patrol it to the point where the guys will actually go out and cold trail it, where they actually go put their hands into the dirt and the ash. That's why some of these firefighters are a little bit dirty. And make sure that there's no heat, even to the touch. So, you know, that's what we're going to do now. We try to get, and mopping up, we're going to get twice the height of the trees interior. So we're not going to mop up the inside of the fire. Eventually it will just go out. But to increase the effect of our fire line, we're going to go twice the height of the trees inside from the fire line. And that's where we're going to be wetting it down, stirring it up, boneyarding it, and trying to get rid of that fuel. And how long is that going to take? You know, it will probably be a week to 10 days before, up in that heavier fuel type, up in the mixed conifer, you know, the Doug fir and the white fir areas, until there's no heat along the line. And interior, you might see, you know, smokes coming up for 2 weeks or so. But usually by 2 weeks, the fuel inside the fire has consumed itself to where there's no more fuel for it to burn, and it'll actually go out. And then we'll try to expedite that along the perimeter of the fire. In the ponderosa pine type and in the fuel treatment areas, I anticipate about 4 days or so, and we'll have that mopped up. And I'd say, you know, almost double that for the mixed conifer, you know, in the higher country. Yeah. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Whose responsibility will it be to mulch against the erosion? I mean, we're pretty close into.
Okay. All right. Now, the team that's here, you know, the areas that we disturbed in order to try and stop the fire, all of our dozer lines, hand lines, we're going to do that. What we're going to do is get an excavator with a thumb and drag all the debris. Once the fire's out, you know, we have to wait for that where there's no heat left, and then we'll drag that debris that we cleared out of those lines back onto the lines, and it'll serve as mulch. And we're responsible for the areas, to rehabilitate the areas that we messed up in order to catch the fire. Now, the interior of the fire, there's a group called the Bear Team that'll probably come in here, and that's their responsibility to do that. And as far as the timeline goes, you know, I just got off a fire in Oak Creek Canyon. You might have heard of that one, the slide fire. And after the Bear Team got in there, they make an assessment as to what areas or how large of an area needs that rehabilitation in there. And they usually start in, what do you think, a week or 2 weeks of starting that?
Right now, the representatives from both the tribes and from the Forest Service here are starting to work on trying to develop that bear plan. They're also actively working with the county and fire departments about talking about what is the potential when the monsoons do come, and I hope they do come, but I hope they don't come all at once. So they're already having those conversations about how can we start thinking about what needs to happen to prevent flooding in the future, because you've all experienced what happened on the Wallow Fire. You've seen that. So they're already having those conversations. They're coordinating with the county agencies and with the fire departments. Those things are happening right now. So they're not waiting until we get this fire extinguished. They're taking action right now.
Matt, let me see that thing one more time. I want to clue you folks in on something. You know, the feds, us feds, we have a bunch of acronyms. And BEAR, you know, who knows what a BEAR team is, right? A BEAR is an acronym for the Burned Area Emergency Rehabilitation Function, just so you know. So when we're talking bear, we're not talking about like Smokey the Bear. It's an effort. It's called the Burned Area Emergency Rehabilitation.
All right, we're about a half hour into this. We have time for a few more questions. Anything pertinent? Karen, right up front.
So I'm assuming that you're still at 5% containment at 5,700 acres?
Correct. The question was, as we said a little earlier, and it's up onto our updates. 5% containment is what we're reporting right now, and 5,700 acres are where we're at. Those are those measurable things that we all want to always grasp onto. That's where we're at this point.
If we're successful, it'll be just under 7,000 acres at end product.
Catch that, what Beck was saying is if we're successful with this burn, it'll end up at just under 7,000 acres. And keep it in mind, a lot of that is that low-intensity burn. No, I wouldn't call it as low as a prescribed fire, but stuff that doesn't disturb the soil and really get in there and burn it down to where there's nothing left to live. But 7,000 acres should be our goal for our end product. A couple of things I want to announce while I'm thinking of it, if you don't mind, is let you know that we are streaming this live on 95.7, right, on the radio station, and recording that on their website. If you want to get this, the video is being recorded, so you can go back and catch anything on it. With the turnout that we have here and the amount of interest and level going on, we're more than glad to do this again on Wednesday. We want to keep you informed every possible way that we can. So let's plan on having another community meeting on Wednesday. Same bat time, same bat place. And then I want to just reiterate one more time that we do have representatives here, that we're all here. We want to talk to you. Folks are coming in. We want to answer all your questions. And we've got, our time is yours. If nothing else then, folks, thank you very much for attending. And